Most writers think of storytelling as this really big and complicated thing. But what if I told you it was easier than eating a freshly baked cheesecake? Don't believe me? Well, let me prove it to you. All you have to do is get good at answering a simple question that you get asked all the time in a slightly different way. What question am I talking about? You already know it, man. It's how are you? Now, I know this may seem irrelevant, but bear with me because this does apply to writing as well. Think of that question for me. You've probably been asked it 1,000,000,000 times over the course of your life. It's one of the most common questions people ask. And if you're like most people, you probably answer in the exact same way. You say, I'm fine, or good, you? Now, there's nothing wrong with these responses per se. They're just not very interesting, are they? And if it's not interesting, it's not going to make for a good story. And this is exactly the same with you as a writer. The reason your stories aren't popping off the page is because they're just like the boring responses you give whenever someone asks, "How are you?" But don't you worry, because we're going to change that in this video. The truth is, if you struggle to write stories, it's not because you're inherently a bad writer. It just means you haven't done it enough. So, what's the solution? I've got 3 very simple steps for you to follow that will drastically improve your ability to tell stories as a writer. To explain this first tip, we need to look at a guy called Alex Hormozi. If you don't know who that is, he is the biggest business influencer around right now. You can't really miss him. He's got this big bushy beard, massive biceps, and he's also made a lot of money. But what most people don't know is that he's also an excellent storyteller and writer. And his hero's journey has become pretty famous on social media. He was on the brink of losing everything. He had $0 in his bank account. His business had completely collapsed. And worst of all, his newlywed wife was guaranteed to leave him. I mean, why wouldn't she? He was a sinking ship, destined to take everyone down with him. At least that's what he thought in his mind. He told his wife that she should probably leave him, and he wouldn't blame her if she did. But instead of agreeing and packing her bags, she grabbed him by his beard and looked deeply into his eyes and said, "I would sleep under a bridge with you if it came to it." This was the moment that changed everything. It was the turning point in his life where he went from rock bottom to sky high, and the rest is history. So, what does this have to do with you becoming a very good storyteller? Well, Alex shared a really vulnerable moment in his life. It's a story he tells all the time in his books and podcast appearances, all throughout his content. But why does he do it? Well, it's actually pretty straightforward. This story is what helps his viewers and readers connect with him. Because although everyone may not have experienced the exact same thing he was going through, everyone has experienced hardship to a certain degree. And it's very hard to relate to someone like Alex Hormozi, who's like this massive fucking gorilla with an amazing physique as well as just a ridiculous bank account. I think he's worth hundreds of millions, right? It's very difficult to relate to someone like that. But with this story, he's able to have people relate to him. If he didn't tell that story so often, people wouldn't be able to resonate with him as a person. So when you're writing, try and do the same thing. Share moments that your readers can relate to, and they'll be a lot more engaged with your story because they'll be able to see themselves in your struggle. Even if they haven't gone through the identical experience that you've gone through, being vulnerable and sharing your struggles will help them relate to you better. Now, this next subject I have to talk about is critical. It's literally the difference between you telling stories that stick in people's minds for years and get forgotten instantly. Once you learn this technique, your stories will never be the same again. But before we get to that, we need to first talk about how you should be communicating with your reader. Let's do a thought experiment for a second. You're a reader and have two options. You can either read a piece of content that's all about the person who wrote it, or you can read a piece of content where the writer is sharing their mistakes, but framing it as a way of serving you. Which one would you prefer to read? And please be honest. If you're being honest, you're going to say you'd rather read the latter. Everyone would rather read the latter because we're all selfish. And there's nothing wrong with that, okay? It's just the way it is. All readers are fundamentally selfish. If you get nothing from the thing you're reading, there's no point in you reading it. On the other hand, if the thing you're reading is geared towards solving a problem that you're dealing with, you're not going to be able to put it down. Why is it that The 4-Hour Workweek is such a popular book? I mean, really think about this. Why is that book so appealing? Even the title just grabs you. Because fundamentally, if you see a book that's titled The 4-Hour Workweek, and that's the promise the book is making, that's going to appeal to basically everyone. Who doesn't want to work 4 hours a week and make a lot of money? Pretty much everyone, right? Imagine if that book was just about how cool Tim Ferriss was. He was just writing like a diary about, oh, I'm awesome, I only worked 2 hours today. Oh, 1 hour. That wouldn't be interesting to you. That would be absolutely boring. Keep this in mind when you'll write. You know, you're not the hero. They are. Your reader is the hero. They are Frodo carrying the ring to Mount Doom. Imagine, Frodo is going through so much pain, okay? He has to dodge orcs. He's got to walk like thousands of miles. Meanwhile, he's got this ring that's literally trying to poison the minds of every single person that comes into contact with, trying to have it taken. It's trying to get to Sauron, right? And it's just poisoning Frodo's mind. They're in trouble, but they're the hero. You're just Gandalf, bro. You're just helping them like along the way, okay? They're the hero. Keep this in mind. So how do you actually do this? Well, again, it's easy. All you have to do is frame your struggles as their struggles. And as a result, position your insights as insights that they can benefit from. If you do this, your stories will be a lot more captivating for your readers. So let me just give you an example of how this would work in practice. If you're scrolling on YouTube, you'll see these videos everywhere. There'll be videos like, what I would tell my 20-year-old self, or 40 lessons from being 40 years old. You know, stuff like that, right? So they're sharing their lessons, they're sharing their ideas and experiences, but they're framing it in a way that's designed to help the viewer. Loads of content is created like this, and it's done to appeal to the viewer's or reader's selfishness. The more you do this, the more engaging your content will be. Now, as promised, we need to talk about the technique that will change your writing forever. And if you've been paying attention, it's something I've used in this video to keep you engaged. So let me explain what I've done using a very popular example. Imagine you're watching The Dark Knight. Do you remember how awesome that opening scene was? Do you remember how you felt when you first saw it? Were you just glued to your seat? You couldn't turn away from the film. That scene has absolutely everything. It has twists, it has turns, it has conflict, it has resolutions. It's got a grand reveal at the end where we're introduced to the antagonist. Now imagine how you would feel if some guy just turned off the movie just as the Joker was escaping in the school bus. How would that make you feel? Would you be cool with that? Or would you be pissed off that someone just turned off the movie after seeing that opening scene? But why is this the case? Well, it's because of how our psychology is wired. You see, when we're engaging with a story, we expect certain things. The story introduces conflict and tension. And as viewers and readers, we expect a resolution. When the Joker robs the bank, conflict is created. During the process of him actually robbing the bank, there's tension. He's killing his other goons. The goons are killing each other. There's the clerk who starts shooting them up with a shotgun. There's all this stuff, and he fundamentally robs the bank and escapes. This is a tense moment that introduces a lot of conflict. So when someone turns the movie off after you see all that conflict, you're not getting the resolution for all that tension. This is why it's so important to write in a way that creates curiosity and increases tension. This is the thing that keeps your readers hooked and makes them want to see what happens next. And if you look very closely, you'll see that this is the case for all stories. The Hunger Games, Alex Hormozy, Harry Potter, Dark Knight, it doesn't matter. Any story you can think of has tension and conflict and a resolution. You can see this pattern in absolutely all of them. And if you want to become a great writer who tells amazing stories, you have to master this art. If you want to master the psychology of writing, click the first link in the description and get my free magnetic writing course. It will give you all the tools to master the art of psychology as a writer. And if you like this video, I think you'll like this next one, which shows you one of the fastest ways to improve as a writer. I'll see you there. Bye.